All right. So on our next slide here, how many of you have heard or have used annotation in English? You guys annotate things? See some head nods. Yeah, if you're in Miss Berta's class, I know that you guys have to annotate text. You might even do it in history, something like that. Essentially, what annotation is just going through and marking up a text. We're actually going to use that same skill in math. Okay, so at the top where it says remember, use your annotation. Remember, use your annotation steps. So below, we're going to talk through each step of annotation. And really, the idea here, guys, is that I know that when we see a word problem, we kind of get this automatic reaction of just stress and overwhelming anxiety, a lot of us at least, because we see this big problem and we just don't know where to start. We don't know what to write down. We don't know how to start solving the thing. And so what annotation does is it allows you to kind of break it down, see what's important, set up your problem, and then you're just going through and solving a multi-step equation. Okay, so if you take it step by step, it's not as bad as it seems. Just trust me. All right. So the first thing you're going to do that you should do with any annotation, whether it's English, history, math, you should read through the whole thing first without marking it, without touching it, just so you can understand what is going on in the problem. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to circle any important numbers in the problem. Now, if you have your packet, you're just filling in the blanks. If you're writing this on a separate sheet of paper, you can paraphrase a little bit. That's okay, just as long as you understand what each step you're supposed to do. Right? So we're circling any important numbers. Then we are going to underline any operation words. So what that means, anything that would indicate adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, we are going to underline those in our problem. I skipped a step, silly Miss Carr. So actually, if you could squeeze in another step before 4, and then we're going to change this to 5, 6, 7. Okay. Our fourth step is that we are going to box any variables. So any unknowns in the problem, we're going to put a box around and then put some letter of the alphabet to indicate that it's a variable. Once we do those 3 things, we mark up our problem, then and only then we're going to start setting up our equation. Okay, and that's step 5. Step 6, we finally get to solving. So you'll notice there's a whole list of things before we start solving. So never should I see you look at a problem and immediately start solving. Okay, there's a whole list of stuff to do before that. And then at the very end, we're going to check, like you always should. So you just want to make sure. Okay, Jasmine, sorry, I just saw your message. You just want to make sure that your answer makes sense with the problem. So for example, let's say that you're solving a word problem and the question is asking, it wants you to find how many people can fit in a stadium. Okay, let's say it's asking you to find how many people can fit in a stadium and you get the answer of 3.4. What's wrong with that? If I got 3.4 as my answer, why would that be wrong? Yeah, thank you, Amara. It's a stadium. There's going to be so many more people than just 3.4. Okay? And thank you, Trevin. Yeah, you can't fit 0.4 of someone. There is no decimal of a person. That's not a thing. Okay? I don't care if you're missing an arm. You're still a person. All right? So make sure if you get an answer that is like nonsensical, you go back and you fix it. Right? Let's go on. Are we good to go on to our next slide? Give me a thumbs up if you're good or good in the chat. Thank you. Seeing thumbs up. All right, seeing some goods in the chat. Nobody's saying wait, so that means I am going to go on here. All right, now if you're in your packet, if you look back on, I want you to flip back actually to page 2, okay? You should see a piece of paper that looks like this. Okay. Now, if you don't have your packet, I am going to leave this up for a couple moments. So you're just going to use what's on the screen, but you are going to want a separate sheet of paper because I am going to ask for volunteers here to give answers. So I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes. And what I want you to do here, I want you to take this whole list of words. And I know you won't be able to sort all of them, but I want you to sort as many as you can into the correct category. So look through these words. Any words that you think would indicate that you are using addition, put in the addition column. Anything you think would indicate multiplication, put in the multiplication column. Okay, if you just have a separate sheet of paper, you don't need to copy all of these words down before you start sorting. You can just look at my screen and make your own little list. Put like a plus and then list all the things that you think would mean plus. Okay, I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes to work on this, and then I'm going to call on some people to give answers. Okay. Yeah, Jasmine, that's fine. If you're not sure, if you come across a word that you just have no idea where it would go, if you would circle it or just write it down your paper in another category, I can answer those. I can go over them at the end if there's just ones that you are totally unsure of. All right. I know you probably didn't have time to sort them all, but we will at least hear from what you did get a chance to sort. Hannah, is that how you say it? I'm so sorry. I feel like it's wrong. Is that right? Heinous? No, can you say it? Can you help me?
Henos.
Henos?
Henos, yeah.
Okay. All right. Can you give me some words that you thought meant addition?
Grew, combined, added to,
Wow, look at you. Grew, combined. Oh, I'm going to.
increased by,
Nice. All good answers.
and borrowed.
Nice. Grew, combined, added to, increased, borrowed. You are killing it. I'm sure there's one that I missed that you said, but.
No, that's all of them.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Did anybody else get some that they want to add to the list?
I got some.
Yeah, let's hear them, Trevin.
Some.
Yep.
Plus.
Yep.
Gained.
Nice.
That's about it.
All right. There's one in here that I want to add to because we are going to see it quite a bit in Algebra 1, and that word is and, which is a less common one, but we're going to run into it all the time in our word problems. All right. Who knows some words for subtract? What are some words that indicated subtraction?
Oh God, it feels like a peach. Feels like a peach.
Your mic
You know how peaches are? Oh.
Sophia, do you have some subtraction words?
Less than.
Less than, absolutely.
Decreased by, fewer than, difference.
All good answers. Anybody else want to add to that list at all? Oh, yep. Lost, dropped. Good job, Naomi. All right, then let's scoot on over. We're going to keep going. Multiply. There's a big one that I talked about on one of our first slides, and that was per. And that's another one I really want you to star, underline, highlight, whatever you need to do, because we're going to run into that one all the time. You guys can just throw them in the chat. What are some of our other multiply words? Ooh, it's angry. Yeah, Amara, thank you. Area is one. Times. Oh, by. Good job, Rode. That one was a harder one. Think of it like if you're describing a room, you're going to say like 10 by 12. And there's usually a little multiply sign in there because that would be the area. Product. Yeah, volume. All good answers. You guys are doing awesome. All right, scoot on over to our last category. Oh, yeah, twice. That's a good one. That's a little bit less common, but useful. Or tripled or doubled, yeah. Divide. Here we go. Divide, what do we got? Quotient, good job. Yep. Thank you, Mara. Nice, Trevin. Split, shared, equally. The other one I want to hit, oh, out of, yep. The other one I want to hit on is distribute. And that could potentially mean multiply as well. But if we're like distributing papers, we're going to have to think of how many papers I have and how many people are in the class to figure out kind of how many each student would get. And then the last category, I didn't have it written out here, but we have equals. And there are just a few that I need us to be aware of for what would indicate equals. We could have is, that means equals. We could have totaled or totals. We could have, oh, what's another one? Costs. Did we have any other equals words? Okay, yeah, so I was, oh yeah, R is an equal word. And then I was gonna take some questions. So Jasmine, you asked, where would rows go? If we think about what's happening when we're rising, so like if the water level is rising or the water level rose, it's going up, it's increasing. So rows would fall under adding, just like falling is gonna fall under, subtraction. Oh, you thought like a flower. Yeah, that's funny. Product would be multiply. So good question. Were there any other words that we just like couldn't place? We weren't 100% sure where they would go. Yield, yeah, I've been getting that one. Yield is a weird word that you're not gonna run into very often. That actually means equals. All right, awesome. So I want you guys to keep this because as we go through and we underline our math words, this is going to be a good reference for you. You can come back here and you can, if you can't figure out where a word would go, we can look at our categories and say, oh, that means divide. All right, cool. So let's do this thing. On the next slide, here we go. Now this is our 2.0 skill. So like I said, we're covering a 2.0 and a 3.0 today. The 2.0, oh yeah, we're going back to page 3 in your packet. So if you're on 2, flip back to 3. The 2.0 skill is just writing the equation. So we're not going to solve anything. We're just going to write the equation. Now we're going to follow our steps. So I'm going to flip-flop back to my steps really quick. Our first step was just to read the entire problem carefully without marking anything, followed by circling important numbers. So I'm going to follow my steps. Here we go. So our first problem says, John is raising money for a trip to Italy he has in 2 weeks. He already has $100 and makes $50 per fundraiser. Write an equation to find his total money raised. Okay, so I read through my entire word problem without marking it up. I am now going to circle some important numbers. Our important numbers in this problem would be 100 and 50. Okay. Now, even though we have this word to here, it's not actually pertinent to the problem. It's not going to help us figure anything out. It's not going to help us solve. So I am not going to circle the number 2. Only 150 are important to us. Right, then we're going to underline our math words. So those are those operation words that we just looked at. So help me out, you guys. Where do we see some math words here? Some operation words. You're close, Trevin. So kind of this whole little phrase, and makes, that is going to indicate plus. And really all we needed to see was that word and. Remember, I had us star that one, that if you see the word and, it's going to mean plus. But yeah, makes could also mean that. So I think the whole phrase together means we're adding. Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, per, definitely. And what does per mean, everybody? What operation does that mean? Yeah, thank you, Amara. That means multiply. So we're going to put a little multiply sign. You'll notice that I'm underlining and then putting the operation above it. That's how I'd like you guys to note it, okay? There is one more. One more operation word. Do we see it?
Total.
Yeah, look at you guys. Awesome. Total. And that means equals. The other thing I want to note is that we see this word already. And what that says to us, that says this is an initial condition. So that tells me, since it says we already have 100, that means we're going to start our equation with $100. That's going to be our initial condition. All right. So I circled my numbers. I underlined my math words. The last step I need to do is box off any unknowns or any variables. So as we look here, this first sentence is not super important to us. It's kind of just setting the scene. So I'm going to kind of skip over that. In the second sentence, it says he already has $100 and makes $50 per fundraiser. Do we know how many fundraisers there are? Yeah, thank you. I see some people shaking their heads. No, we do not know how many fundraisers there are. We know that John is going to make $50 per fundraiser, but there could be one fundraiser, there could be 300. We have no idea. So we are going to box that off. That is an unknown to us. And I'm going to assign it a variable. I'm going to give it F for fundraiser. You could pick a different variable if you want, though. You could pick X, Y, P, Q. Doesn't matter to me, as long as you label it. All right, the other thing we do not know, if we read through that next sentence, write an equation to find its total money raised. Do you know the money raised? Do you know how much total John made? Yeah, I see Caitlin shaking his head. No, we do not know how much money John made. So that is, again, we're going to box that off. And I'm going to assign that the variable M. If you want to pick something else, go for it. Just label. So now we've actually followed through all of our annotation steps. Now we're on to the part where we're writing a math sentence. So I'm literally just going to kind of read through how my problem is now marked up. It says that we have our initial condition of $100. So I'm going to start with 100. And then we have marked and, which we said was plus, 50 per fundraiser. And that's going to give me a total money raised. And that's it. That's all we needed to do. I don't need you to solve it. I just need you to set it up right now. Now, for those of you that are maybe cringing a little bit, you don't like that multiply sign in between the 50 and the F, you could also rewrite this as just 100 plus 50F equals M. That's fine with me. They're the same thing, because remember, if they're right next to each other, that also means multiply. Oh, I didn't even see, Trevin, you already had that in the chat. Good job. How are we feeling? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Give me a good, bad in the chat. What are your thoughts? Thank you. You thought I had good handwriting? Whoa. Thank you. I have some quieter people today. Are we alive? Are we feeling okay? All right, I'm going to take the silence as a good thing. Let's look down. I'm going to skip the second one since we're all feeling pretty good. And let's just do the problem with Milton. And I'm going to move a little bit faster through this one since we already did an example very similar to it. First things first, read the whole thing through. So here we go. Milton is saving money. He lost $50. Oof. but now is able to save $10 per day. Write an equation to find his total money saved. What is the very first thing that I'm doing? What is the very first step I want to do? After reading all the way through, what's my first step? Yeah, thank you. Looking for numbers, and I see somebody already threw a number in there. Yeah, $50 is an important number, and $10 is an important number to us. Now I'm looking for those operation words. Who sees some operation words? Lost. Yeah, lost. And what operation do you think that's going to mean, guys? What would lost mean? Yeah, thank you. Subtraction. And then I saw Naomi also said total, which we know means equals. And then somebody else said per. And what is per? What does per mean? What operation? Yeah, you guys are killing it. Okay. So I have my operation words. Yep. Now I need to look for any unknowns. So again, this first sentence is kind of just setting up our problem. It says he lost $50, but now is able to save $10 per day. What don't I know in that sentence? He lost $50, but now is able to save $10 per day. What is my unknown? Yeah, Sophia.
How much money he had before he lost the 50?
Ooh, that would be a good thing to know. I think we're just assuming that that was all he had in his bank account. Sadly, but truly. But yeah, that would be another good thing to know. A couple people in the chat said days. Yeah, we don't know the days. We don't know how many days so far Milton has been saving money. So I'm going to box that off and label D. The other thing, just like our first problem, money saved, we do not know. And I'm going to give that M. And I think some of you have already kind of sorted this out. Our equation, we're going to read all the way through. I have negative 50. Oh, I missed an operation word. Nobody called me on it. Save would be plus. Negative 50 plus 10 per day equals our total money saved. Or you could just eliminate that multiply sign and put 10D. Yes. Good job, Trevin. All right, we're almost the way through. I just want to do one more and we'll call it quits. Now, this is our 3.0 because I'm going to set it up, but then I'm also going to solve it. And the 3.0 just means you're closer to an A or a B. So this is something you're going to want to go for. All right, here we go. Micah's driving her car on a road trip. She has already driven 100 miles and drives 55 miles per hour. If Micah's driven 320 miles total, how many hours has he been driving? Okay, here we go. We're going to circle 100, 55, and we have three numbers this time, 320. Was that a yawn or a surprise? Okay. All right. So now we're going to underline our operation words. I see this word already. Remember, that means that it's our initial condition. Help me out with our other operations. Per, yeah. I told you we were going to run into it a lot. Total, yep. Thank you. Yeah, this word and, that's the hard one. People always forget that one. I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah. Okay, cool. We did it. And then we are boxing off. There's only one thing that we don't know in this problem. Who knows the one thing that we don't know? Yeah, thank you, Naomi. We don't know the hours. So I'm going to box off hours, and I'm going to give it the variable H. All right, now when I'm setting up my problem, I'm just going to read it all the way through. So I'm starting with 100, and we're driving 55 per hour. And now if we were to write it exactly as it's written in our problem, we would write something that looks like this, 320 equals. But that doesn't make very much sense. You need something on the other side of the equal sign. So sometimes it's not perfect. Sometimes you do have to rearrange a little bit. If that's the case, you just have to make a judgment call. If we know that 320 is the total miles, that's going to go on the other side of the equal sign. And I'm going to rewrite this without that dot for those of you that are freaking out about it. Okay, now our 3.0 is that we're actually going to go through and solve this. And this is just a two-step equation. This is our couple in our third wheel situation. So who knows what my first step would be? Yeah, thank you, Mara. We're going to subtract 100 on both sides. That's our third wheel. We're kicking the third wheel off the date so the couple can have their alone time. Goodbye. All right, and now on this side, I have 55H left. On this side, when I combine those like terms, I have 220. What's my last step? Yeah, thank you in the chat. We're dividing by 55. Hi, Jaden. All right, so we can cross off our 55s. Who has my final answer? A couple of you, yeah. 220 divided by 55 gives us 4. Now be careful, with word problems, we have to use units. Since we were talking about the hours, that's what we solved for, we're going to have to say 4 hours at the end. There we go. Can I get a thumbs up, thumbs down? Good. Awesome.